Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Product Ops HQ virtual meetup. This is the edition of April. I'm Anna, and I'm your community manager here at Product Ops HQ, tuning in from Portugal. It's really great to have you all with us today. We have an amazing session lined up for today, so I'm pretty excited. Let's give it a minute or two for more folks to join us. Meantime, tell us, say hi in the chat and let us know where you are tuning in from. Joining me today is also Leah from Dragonboat. She will be hanging out in the chat, helping with your questions and sharing some useful resources. Okay, let's see who's here with us today. I'm seeing Graham. Hi, Graham. Oh, okay, I'm seeing a lot of folks now. It seems that my chat was lagging. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces here, and I'm also seeing some new names. So for those of you who are new here, a big welcome. The Product Ops HQ is your go-to place to connect, share experience, and grow together. If you haven't joined our Slack yet, you should definitely join us there. I think Lee is going to drop a link for you in the chat to join us. Actually, we just crossed 1.5 members in 1.5K members in the Slack community. So a huge thanks to everyone for making it such an amazing space. And please stay tuned there because we have some news coming up. So let's all gather there, right? Okay, before we dive in, just a quick housekeeping notes. So today's topic is going to be about why product operations is more important than ever. And we will kick off with an insightful talk from our special guest for today, who I will be introducing shortly. And then we will have time for a live Q&A. If you have questions, please feel free to add them in the Q&A box as we go along, or raise your hand during the live Q&A to speak directly with your guest speaker. We welcome everyone to join us live, so please don't be shy. And yes, we are recording this session, so we will be sharing the recording through email afterward. All right, so let's keep moving, but first a quick shout out to our sponsor, Dragonboat. Dragonboat is an AI-powered strategic portfolio management platform that is designed for everyone in a product operating model. So from CPOs to product managers, product operations, and your teams. It helps set clear strategies, build portfolio roadmaps, and deliver products that delight customers and accelerate business outcomes. Dragonboat is more than just a platform. They are your partner in achieving product operating excellence, which includes building and sponsoring our community of strategic and product ops professionals. So if you want to learn more about Dragonboat, check out dragonboat.io. That link is going to be dropped in the chat by Leah. And with that, I'm so excited to introduce you our guest speaker for today. So our guest speaker is Denise Tilles. Denise wrote the fantastic book Product Operations, co-authored with Melissa Perry, the writer of the Escaping Build Trap. This book has quickly become a must-read for all tech leaders. And with over 15 years of product leadership experience, Denise also supports companies like Insight Partners, Red Hat, Bloomberg, and Novo Nordisk by strengthening capabilities around product operations, product management, maturity, and skills, and also establishing product operating models. Denise, thank you so much for joining us today and supporting our growing community. the stage is all yours.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Hey, everybody. This is exciting to see our community out in large numbers. This is exciting. Nice to see you guys. I'm dialing in from Brooklyn, New York today. We have a beautiful spring day. It was winter 2 days ago, so I think the weather's kind of trying to decide if we're actually springing forward or not. I'm super excited to speak to you guys today about leaner times. I spoke last year at the Product Operations Summit, the PLA Product Ops Summit, and spoke about sort of the challenge at hand with Spotify having done that massive layoff and talking about people who do the work around the work. And I was like, no, they mean us. I'm coming to you guys this year. It's kind of an update. Things are looking better, but there are different opportunities and challenges. And I want to talk about how we reinforce the message, why product ops is more important than ever in almost any climate, positive, negative, challenged, strong. So I will leave you guys with some case studies, some potential proof points, and hopefully open this up to a really lively conversation. So let's get started. A little bit about me, 15 years, God, I can't believe it. Product leadership experience on the operating side and the consulting side. Yes, co-wrote the book with Melissa, Product Operations. I work as an advisor and a consultant and do coaching around product ops and product management leadership for CPOs and VPs of product. And the work that I do is around advising and up-leveling folks with teams really with functional maturity, product manager skills, product ops, standing up a team, assessing a team if they have the capability in place. And then what does that operating model look like for your company? And I think Graham said this last week on LinkedIn that, there's not one product operating model, and I totally agree. It really depends on the context and the company and sort of what value your particular product ops team and product management team is working towards. So a couple of my clients I've been fortunate enough to work with, Bloomberg, a lot of bio, life, and life sciences, Novo Nordisk, Takeda, DaVita, and a lot of teaching as well. So yeah, I'm really fortunate to work with great clients who believe in product management and believe in product ops or want to understand why they should believe in product ops. So I feel like it's a lot of evangelizing, just like we all do every day. The book, I think I mentioned this at our February meetup, but Melissa and I are going to be finally recording the audiobook. Folks have been asking and asking. We were so excited to get the book out in the marketplace end of 2023. We're like, we'll get to it. So we're going to be releasing an audiobook, but we're going to be updating it with the impact of AI on product operations. So I'm going to have some opportunities at the end to share with you guys in terms of how you might be able to contribute. So that'll be coming out probably mid-year, and then we'll be following that with a second edition of the book. So really excited to have even more voices in the book. So I hope you guys will share out your case studies. So today, what I want to talk about, and we're all believers, right? The product ops really helps us enable focus, rigor, that innovation flywheel, but it's important in any challenged environment, in any company, they're core imperatives, right? So rigor, focus, and innovation. And I want to share 2 actionable strategies with you guys to be able to showcase value. And, let's face it, a lot of what we do in product ops is not only enabling faster and better quality decision-making for product managers, ultimately showing up for better outcomes for the business and our customers, but we also have to constantly be selling ourselves. We're a cost center. How are we providing value? So I want to share with you a couple of ways to think about that. So our new type of lean, these numbers were interesting. I want to share them with you. I had grabbed some layoff numbers for you yesterday, and I thought, well, that's good enough. I had a little time this morning, so I thought I'd go and take a look this morning and give you guys fresh numbers from trueup.io. And these are numbers based on tech employees impacted by layoffs. I believe this is US based, that sort of purview, but it's important, I think, as sort of a marker of what's happening more globally. So we see in 2023 that massive spike, right? 429,000 tech layoffs. This is everybody, not just product ops, right? And as I spoke about this at last year's Product Operations Summit, it was March. What was that going to look like? It dropped pretty well, like 40% plus, right? So it wasn't quite as bad. 2025, we're looking almost flat to that. But what's interesting is yesterday, it was 42% lower than 233%. So, as we know, the world, the geopolitical changes, economic, they're happening is really vast. And that was shocking to me. From yesterday to today, the number of potential layoffs projected went up by 42%. So I'm like, what happened? Was it Tesla? I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens tomorrow. But leaner times are here, but there's other challenges and opportunities as well. Right. So what do I mean by that? This other memo that sort of replaced the Spotify memo, the Shopify memo, baseline expectation at Shopify, the CEO said, and it seems to have had ripple effects in the industry. What is this, the new standard? What does that look like? The new norms of any sort of non-use of AI has to be justified. How are we getting shit done? In product development, incorporating that during the prototyping phase to accelerate, learning and team collab, and then that performance accountability, right? So AI adoption, people are being measured on that. And I'm hearing informally from clients and colleagues in the industry that a lot of companies are like, yes, this is our battle cry. We want to take this on as well. So that has a lot of implications for what we do in product operations. So what I'd love to know from you guys, how has the Shopify memo impacted your organization? And we're going to have a poll here and share that out. Give it a minute here. BAU's going down. Okay, let's give it one more second. Going. All right, let's share the results. So interesting. We've got execs are talking about it, but nothing tangible yet. Yes, we have to justify any new hires why AI cannot do the work. I'm surprised it's that low. Okay. And then BAU. Interesting. I would love if one person would like to share any sort of specific insight on this. Anna, do you mind taking one hand raised? Kaya had her hand raised initially. Kaya, do you
Yeah.
have a comment about that?
Hey, Kaya.
Hey, sorry. No, I did not mean to raise my
Okay.
hand. Apologies.
No worries. Okay, anyone else? Christina? Okay, we have a lot of people raising their hands, so I'm going to unmute you. And you can share your insights.
Hi there. My name's Tori. I'm VP Product Ops at a company called Key Factor. It's in the cybersecurity space. And for us, it's certainly something that we're hearing as a direction of investments that we're making or work that we're doing to leverage AI, but there's still a open dialogue of what we want that to look like. So teams are giving latitude to advocate and request tools and access. One thing we have done internally is created an AI roundtable where we meet regularly to share tools that we're testing or trying out and how we're adopting those and how we're utilizing those. And that's kind of being used as sort of the steering committee for the company's AI practices as that kind of collective team.
Interesting. Have they sort of referenced the Shopify memo?
I have not heard it referenced internally at
Okay.
our company. I think in general, the sentiment of the market and the teams is that that is certainly the direction. I saw you had worked with Insight Partners. They're one of our investors as well
Okay.
as Sixth Street, and those two also are um, giving that direction to make more of a motion and a move towards adopting AI in the work, not just in product operations across the.
Right. Right. Totally makes sense. Thanks for sharing. All right, we'll save time at the end for this. I just want to get a little bit of a pulse here. Yeah, I imagine we're going to see this BAU going down as the year goes by, but thank you guys for those insights. Okay, stop sharing that. So as we think about, we're BAU now, it's probably going to keep going down. We're probably going to be thinking about what that looks like to incorporate AI. Will we be sort of measured on that? How do we think about leading change in an evolving landscape? So we have the background of layoffs, maybe not quite as bad as the end of 2023, but they're still percolating, right? And then AI now. And, I think a lot of folks, and definitely a majority of this community, really see AI as this sort of force multiplier, so to speak. And how do we use that? And how do we sort of lead with the storyline of human expertise and AI supplementation? So how do we tell that story? We have to differentiate ourselves, right? So as we think about any environment, whether it's like a bear market, a bull market, companies always need the rigor and focus, right? Of understanding product adoption, understanding what customers are saying, the resource monitoring, where are we placing our bets in terms of R&D allocation, and the champions of change, right? Making sure that we're thinking about what innovation looks like, how we put those flywheels into practice so people can stop thinking about how to do the work and actually get the work done. So product operations has always had that key value proposition. But I want to talk to you guys about two key value examples. And these are two case studies from the book. But what I want to do is update it and based on, what does that look like now in the world of generative AI, right? So one of the case studies that really resonated with readers was Athena Health and how they talked about up-leveling their capitalization process, right? So how they thought about doing this more efficiently, right? So capitalization, how we think about it as a fixed asset on a company's financial statement. You want to be able to amortize those expenses over time to increase EBITDA. Always looks better. Athena Health really started thinking about framing the work that was being done in a more automated way. Initially, they had been doing very long spreadsheets with thousands of rows of people kind of guesstimating what was done as sort of in progress versus delivered. So they were started to leverage, understanding the problem first from the product team, but then started to leverage, how can we put this into Jira where we can pull these reports in a more organized way? So thinking about framing it from capitalization point of view, what's a new feature or foundational tech versus an expense is something that had to be fixed right away, a bug to, make sure that they were maintaining that trust reactively, and then the experimental development investments, right? So they wanted to make this more accurate and less painful. Teams were taking like days to get this done every quarter. And this is like a really bad Groundhog Day. How do we improve this? And they ended up making this more automated, at least that first cut. And they saved hundreds of hours in terms of capitalization efforts. And this was pre-AI. AI was a gleam in everybody's eyes, right? How would this look today, right? In capitalization and supercharging with AI. Doesn't replace it, can't do it completely. You might leverage AI to streamline capitalization around those digital footprints, like we said, with Jira, GitHub, et cetera, the auto calculation of time spent on capitalization, and then tracking those project starts, task completions, and code deployments more accurately. But we still need the human expertise, right? How are we making that very fuzzy distinguishing moment of the technologically feasible versus available for sale, those different phases, and how those can be capitalized or not? And then contextualizing all of the allocation decisions for auditors. If you're a Gen AI company, how do you think about those unique accounting complexities? And then you still need the human judgment, right? For AI training costs, upgrading versus maintaining. So capitalization is still a core need, but how do we sort of partner with AI to think about ways to make it more efficient, more cost effective, and hopefully faster and less painful, or less painful. So I'm seeing clients starting to use AI this way now. I imagine we're going to keep seeing an evolution of that, but this is one example. Another one was a case study from the book with Fidelity and thinking about research, user research, and how do we make sure we're really building the right thing. And Fidelity has a smallish, 28, as a lot of people use a research team, but they wanted to be able to support, the hundreds, I think close to 1,000 PMs in making sure that they could get qualitative inputs that were reusable for all of the teams. But they had this small team to be able to enable the scale. They realized they had to create playbooks to guide those common needs and helping teach the product managers to fish and creating an internal research certification. Not a huge certification fan myself, but I thought this made sense, and they made it kind of a fun thing to attain within the company. And they would create something like a ranked user needs document where product managers could sort of work with clients, which were hard to get, a regulated industry for Fidelity. And so when they had time with their clients, to really be able to make the most of it and thinking about more structured and templated ways of doing research with their clients. So, product ops was really just helping operationalize the inputs faster and better quality decision making, right? The success metrics, how do they get those insights in? And then what are those insights to action? What's that rate look like? And then how do we tie those actions towards business and customer outcomes? Still very important. How does that look now, right? And sort of thinking about the research democratization, right? So we're probably, a lot of us doing this now, that generating at least the first cut of interview questions, right? Based on the research goals, the pattern analysis within the feedback data, taking a first crack at the research templates and playbooks, and then starting to hone and adjust. And guidance on the research methods, as you sort of using that as a back and forth as a refining mechanism. But we still need the human expertise, right? How are we thinking about, is this research design valid? Claude may tell you that, but you need people with that expertise to understand those sort of edge cases, to really understand, is this the right way to be addressing it? Are we getting good information out of this? The nuanced user behaviors and emotions, the nonverbal things, right? The strategic decisions based on findings. Certainly, generative AI can give us a sense of that, but still requires human judgment towards that. And then teaching the critical thinking skills to PMs. Wouldn't that be amazing if Gen AI could do that, but it doesn't. So that's still on our teams to help with those more humanistic needs. This is an example that you might want to share with your company, and thinking about where are the areas we could delegate the draft work, and then where can we make sure that we're leveraging prod ops in a more strategic way to make sure that we're really getting higher value efforts out of them. So that would be the strategic alignment, the cross-functional, and that's another topic I want to talk about some other time. Like, is product ops morphing into ops, R&D ops? I'm seeing a lot of buzz around this right now, but cross-functional ops, scaling strategy, tools and systems. Then how do we think about the lower value? Still important. We need to do it. The meetings and the admin, the recordings, the documentation, at least taking a first cut, the initial analysis, and research. So this has been an effective way to explain to teams and explain to executive teams that here's where the sort of differentiation happens. One doesn't replace the other. It's really, humans driving AI with the leverage. So what can we do? And I'm sure a lot of us are doing this already, but I just wanted to call this out and hopefully frame it in a way that might be useful for you to grab or think about with your teams. Be intentional about highlighting what we're doing versus where we're leveraging Gen AI, not necessarily blurring the lines, right? How do we delineate that AI versus expertise, human expertise in our initiatives, right? So where are the boundaries and what is that outcome, sort of starting with the outcome, right? So where did we use AI enablement? Where was the human expertise, and really calling that out, telling the story of that partnership and how the value was created in tandem. Sometimes I speak with folks that I'm coaching, like, well, I don't really want to talk about how AI helped. I don't want it to make it seem like we're replaceable. I think we have to sort of, open the curtains and be very clear about that, and use that as a moment to sort of share how we're leading the way of leveraging AI in terms of lower value or lower leverage type of work to help us focus on the more strategic. So be really intentional about telling that story. Sharing out how we unlock value. Sharing out, again, we know as product ops, it's hard to get people to understand what we do. So even more important to be thinking about that. So in terms of efficiency, the customer focus, the innovation, cost management, right? And faster and better quality decision-making, but all enabled by the AI and human expertise partnership. And being the force multiplier, we talk about that in the book, right? So what's absolutely essential, and I know we're all doing this, is keeping the pulse on product manager needs, right? The sentiment, the productivity, the value and impact. What does the collaborative experience look like? But how do we help enable relevant AI usage, and not the sort of give me one of those, the gamut, but helping teams understand where it makes sense and not doing it just for the sake of doing it, and having sort of a set of principles, when we might adopt it, when we might not, and for what sort of use cases. Thinking about AI as augmentation, not replacing us. And again, from my first point, being really clear about how we're leveraging it and how it's sort of helping power better outcomes with more time to focus on the strategic. And leveraging this community. I mean, it was great that we had the team, all of the folks in February sharing out how they've been able to leverage AI and tips and sort of use cases. And I've talked to a few of you already. I hope to hear from more of you, but this is an amazing community. Make sure you're leveraging it to understand what's working, where you run into challenges, different tools, different applications. And I think that's the best thing we can do. So hopefully I've left you with a key takeaway about, we know this product ops enables all of these core essentials, the rigor, the focus, the innovation flywheel. And every company needs this, whether we're laying off, whether we're increasing headcount, whatever the challenges are, it's key, it's core. So I will leave you guys with a question to hopefully start the conversation. How do you show value? Thank you. Okay, so we can start with that, Anna, or we can start wherever you'd like.
Yes, so thank you, Denise. This
Sure.
was super helpful, I guess. So now it's your turn, everyone. So please drop your questions in the Q&A or raise your hand if you'd like to ask your question live to Denise. So I will kick off with a question. So you talked about focusing product ops on strategic work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what would you say that are the top 3 things that a product organization should do to drive strategic impact?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of an evergreen type of challenge and opportunity, right? So you want to make sure that the teams are really focused on developing an outcome-driven practice. It's so easy to get into that sort of drip feature delivery output. So really keeping it high level, making sure people are focusing on the outcomes, the visibility, right? Where are we going and why are we doing this, and backing it up with that qualitative and quantitative data of why we're going there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the success, right? The strategic impact shouldn't just account for, feedback, but the strategies from feedback to roadmap delivery to go to market, making sure that we're understanding where we're going and then how we're measuring that. And are we going back, hopefully, to understand that progress. So I think the 3 things would be the outcome-driven practice, more visibility on what you're working on, and then accounting for the feedback, understanding as you're trying to sort of deliver on your strategy, and the go-to-market and getting that market feedback as well and measuring the impacts.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
That's super helpful. Okay, so I think we have a lot of people here. Maybe I will start with those who want to share their questions directly live. So I will allow Anna Mika to join us live. Hi, Anna Mika, and apologies if I'm not saying your name correctly. We are not hearing you. Mm,
Are you
can you?
hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Hi.
Hi, first of all, great to meet both of you, Anna and Denise. Thank you for, kind of organizing this and, walking us through all of those insights. That was really helpful, especially for me, because this is my first product ops conference meeting ever.
Oh, good. Welcome.
Yeah, so I just had a question. So you obviously spoke about AI and how it's really important to kind of integrate it in a lot of, I guess, the manual work that happens, so that you can focus more on the strategic and the other decisions sort of that you have to make within product ops. So I'm just wondering that extent should we sort of like rely or depend on the outcomes generated by AI, especially when you are looking for something that requires a high level of accuracy, right? Like, let's say you are trying to do some sort of data analysis for to help a product manager or to drive a data driven decision. So obviously you need the analysis to be really accurate. So that's what I mean, that okay, of course I want to use AI to make the work like faster, compile data quicker, but how much do we rely or depend on it in that sense?
Well, I think it's kind of the common sense that so many folks are talking about. We discussed in February, and I'm seeing with a lot of product and product ops leaders that it is a great first step. It doesn't replace that critical thinking. So I don't want to say it's a vomit draft, but it's a really good first draft, but it really it's so easy to like, okay, good, move it over to a deck or whatever and be done with it. But you really have to analyze it and put it through that critical lens of your context and what makes sense at your company. So in my mind, it's a really great first draft that needs to be sort of groomed and managed and brought into perspective by an actual human, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that does. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Chris. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Chris.
Oh, hey, Denise. Thank you so much for sharing the presentation today. You had a question there at the end, which was, how do you showcase value?
Yeah.
So the way that I've been thinking about this over the past year or so is a lot of the times when product talks, leaders get asked the question of who is your customer, who is your user, who are you doing the work for? The answer is often the product organization. Maybe it's a product management leadership position. Maybe the product managers, the product teams. And I've started to, I guess, subscribe less to that concept and more to the concept that the end customer is also our customer. So if we're trying to maximize impact and performance, increase quality of decision making in the teams, the purpose of that is the end customer finding value for them and therefore driving business impact. And so that's where I come from. That's the position I come from. So when I'm talking to potential clients who are looking to hire me for my services and we want to talk about how do we measure the impact of product operations, it always has to be linked to something that is impacting the business through the finding of customer value, solving customer problems, and any way we can do to help solve that. I had a really great conversation with Hugo Froish, if anyone knows him, and Chiara Gardner about this as well. I do believe in some cases that we have to be quite pragmatic, and sometimes it does have to get stuff done. There's a bunch of things that just have to happen on the more tactical level. But when that initial conversation is happening about how should we showcase value, it should be on that end point, the sort of more strategic angle of how are we helping the organization to drive customer value and business impact.
Right. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is not in terms of more story points delivered or anything tactical, but trying to bring it to a higher
Yeah, I mean,
strategic
even
point
like
of view. Yeah, it's hard to do though, right?
yeah, I mean, even like operational metrics, you know,
Mhm.
can we reduce lead time for X, or can we, you know, reduce the amount of time that things go through QA? Like all of these have potentially negative outcomes anyway. But measuring those things is useful and it's eye-opening. It's good to hold up a mirror to the teams to understand themselves how they might
Mhm.
improve. But the team, the product ops as a function is never going to be that successful if all they can do is reduce lead time, or
Yeah.
introduce a new process that makes something slightly better if it's not connected to that end value.
So whatever direct or indirect thread that you can put through the needle towards that bigger picture outcome, do that is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the example I have here is I was working with a client on a product intakes process. We could have just introduced a process and taken a step back and gone, okay, things are better
Yeah,
now.
process created.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tick, that box has been ticked. But actually, when you think about measures in terms of, yeah, someone said here outcomes versus outputs, Danielle. We actually were able to identify that because that new process existed, where intakes may have taken 2 years to see the light of day, they were now taking like a quarter, which is still quite a long time. But when you're gathering things from the rest of across the business and with business clients in an enterprise setting, SaaS enterprise, if you can identify, you've introduced a process and the teams are able to build something for those businesses to get to their customers, and now they're increasing their revenue, then product operations is going to look quite impactful and therefore incredibly valuable.
Love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, I'm going to pass the mic to Peter. Peter, welcome.
Oops. Thank you. And thank you, Denise, so far. My question is, how much of AI's support of product ops do you think will happen inside existing tools like Dragonboat, Asana, Jira, versus developed outside of those tools and potentially in-house?
That's such a good question. And I think I see it sort of growing simultaneously because they're going to be addressing different challenges and opportunities and use cases, right? So, you know, products like Dragonboat or Asana or Dualo or any of those, you know, tools that help us as product ops folks, I think we'll definitely be seeing that as a value prop. You know, I think we're seeing more actual integration and use of that as opposed to say a year ago when people were saying things were AI enabled. But I see just as much of a need internally because you have those contextual challenges and or types of data that can't necessarily be running through a public type of excuse me tool or you know GPT. So couple of the case studies I've you know been hearing about so far for the update of the book is you know something that assesses over the transom requests from customer support or sales for new features and kind of does a quick assessment what that value is before product managers even sort of pick that out to sort of look at that. So that I imagine will be using a lot of sensitive information in terms of the customers who requested their you know lifetime value or the amount of their annual spend. So I see it in sort of equal measure. I guess the question to you is, of the tools that you use, which do you feel like are the most, which one would you say, if you had to call one out, is the most useful in terms of integrating AI in a measurable, not measurable, but a real impactful way that you've seen, or have you seen any yet?
Good question. For me, the tool I use most at the moment is a ChatGPT like detector. So it's not supporting me. It's me trying to burn down work of others. But that's me. That's me.
Okay, but in terms of tools that you mentioned, like Asana and Dragonboat and Jira, are you seeing any of those doing it particularly well?
As a former employee of Miro, I see Miro doing good stuff in
Okay.
in terms of AI, analyzing work, analyzing documents, preparing that for the next step in the product development lifecycle.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
And thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, we have one last raised hand, and then we are going to move to the Q&A. So sorry, welcome. Hey,
Hi. Hi, Denise. We met last year at the conference. I'm one of the agile coaches who were let go from Spotify is doing the work
Right.
around the work.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
nice to see you again.
Yeah.
So I have a question whether you see an opportunity with allowing or maybe even leveraging product operations people to support the transformation to use AI either in the product organization or maybe even beyond the product organization, to kind of take the product operations skills in driving change and leverage it to, okay, how do we use AI? What's blocking us? What can we do to improve? Just another thought that I had lately.
So your
Curious about
question is, can product ops sort of be that model to how not just product teams, but the rest of the company sort of leverage AI?
I would say lead the transformation of either the product or the whole organization to use AI in a better way.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think product ops could be uniquely situated for that, or working in concert with what we call in the book the super friends of other ops teams, because being able to showcase specific uses, I think will help inspire other teams. So if it's part of an all hands, a quarterly all hands, that might be part of it, of just like, here's 5 minutes of a case study of how product ops may find another person within the company of how AI was leveraged, and then that actionable takeaway. I loved having being able to include that so what. So if it was something that was super specific to, say, engineering, what's the bigger picture that everybody could take away from that? So I think product ops could be really useful in terms of creating that framework of showcasing different ways of leveraging it, but also bringing it back to the so what and how can I in marketing do that, or what would that mean to me in customer support? So yeah, I think that's a great point.
And do you think there is an appetite for allowing product operations to lead those? That's like always been the struggle to kind of, sell that, hey, we can lead this. We have the experience. We've done similar things. Let's just use us or leverage us in a meaningful way.
Don't ask permission, beg forgiveness. Step into the breach and do it. Totally.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's move to these written questions. We have a lot of them. I will try to resume it, but the first one is regarding capitalization. Our engineers manually log their time against Jira epics using a Jira add-on. How can we use AI to support on this, as the time spent data measured may not be accurate, using time spent in status, etc.?
How can we use AI to support this, as the time spent data measured may not be accurate? I guess I would open that up to the community. I don't have a quick answer on that.
Okay.
Anybody?
Okay, we have Kate.
Go for it.
Kate.
Hey, excuse me. This was actually related to a question that I posed in the chat, because it wasn't directly for you, Denise, but I kind of wanted to pose it to the community. My product operations team is pretty small. It's really just myself, and I'm trying to figure out how I can use an agentic AI to do that kind of fact finding for me. And there's a lot of different ways that you can, or from what I'm researching, it sounds like there's a lot of different tools that are available and a lot of different ways that can be constructed. But I would recommend that you look into something called an MCP, or a model context protocol, which essentially is you turn your AI agents into data chauffeurs who will go to where the data lives, grab it, and then bring it back to you. And so I think when we talk about using AI in product operations, what we maybe should start considering is that we can use AI to outsource that sort of stuff, like the repeatable fact-finding efforts that we have to do to reduce that time.
Nice.
Thanks, Kate. Okay, let's see what else. There's a lot of questions around tools. So are there any tools or resources for AI that you find emerging or trending that are beneficial for teams to leverage? And also Jeff asks about product development tools like Dragonboat that are using AI in leading edge ways.
So the question, let's see here, trying to find the question.
So I kind of summarized
Oh.
one from Tori. Any tools or resources for AI that you find emerging and trending? And Jeff's, because they are both around AI tools.
Yeah. I tend to go to the community and find out what people are using, because it really does differ based on what that need is. We just had a question around how to get more accurate reporting information in terms of capitalization with the engineering aspect, and hearing about MCP. That was certainly helpful, because I have heard that before. So I guess I would say in terms of the context would matter a lot in terms of what you're trying to solve. So I couldn't say like, you know, go to Gemini, this will solve everything, or MCP. I think it really is contextual. So as you come up with these questions, my best recommendation is to bring it to ProdOps HQ and find out what people are doing today. Otherwise, we could be here for probably 3 hours, the different potentials.
Definitely. And thanks for
Did you want to
talking.
address the Dragon Boat, Anna, or no aspect of that?
Well, I can tell you guys to check out Dragonboat. They are
Okay.
heavily on AI as well. So yeah, definitely check it out. And I'm going to ask Jeff to unmute himself. Okay. Hey, Jeff, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, it's great to hear from you, everyone. Again, I think just a little bit of more context on ours. So we're a very small product ops team. There's basically 2 of us. And so we're obviously looking for ways to force multiply this work across the team. And so again, one of those main things is tools and things like that. So yeah, one of the things that we're running into, right, is that there's a huge push for AI, just, you know, not because of any kind of Shopify memo, but really just because we have a whole team dedicated to driving AI. And so one of the things that we're constantly being asked to do is try to find new and innovative ways to leverage AI in our space on a regular basis. So I think more of my question was around like, you know, are there any tools that are doing that? Because I think, yeah, we're if we're not asked already, we will be asked to leverage and start justifying, you know, again, all of our tool spend and all of those things. And so I'm just wondering if anybody has, and I can connect with the group as well. That's kind of the context of my question.
Sounds like a group question. Do you guys want to share out in the chat how you respond to that? So Jeff, to summarize your question is, what are the tools and how do you justify them? Or okay.
Yeah, because I think, you know, a lot of, I mean, right now we use ChatGPT and we're building, you know, custom GPT all the time, right? We have a you know, we made a tool that kind of will create you know, PRDs, you know, as like a kind of a automated tool that they can actually put in all this information and it kind of spits out like, so like documentation creation. I think we've kind of hit the stride there, but when it comes to development and, you know, again, I think measurement is probably the biggest thing, right? Is like measuring our impact, our ability to, you know, manage KPIs, et cetera. That's kind of where we're falling short. So I think those are some of the kind of over the horizon type things that we're looking at.
Anybody got a suggestion?
Anyone? Maybe we have Kate.
Kate, are you got an idea?
Hey, sorry, I feel like I'm monopolizing this here, but
No.
Jeff, that's actually something that I'm I'm trying to work on as well. My organization recently revised some of our North Star metrics, and we had a whole session where we presented them to the company, and we started talking about like not necessarily this is how we're measuring or this is how we're tracking, but this is why we track it and this is why it's valuable. And I wonder if there might be an opportunity for you to establish like North Star metrics for that work that you're doing, like a North Star metric for operationalizing documentation. And then if you have any kind of like scheduled company-wide meeting where you're discussing where you're at or what you're doing, that would be the time to unveil it and say, this is the work we've been doing and here's why it's valuable. Yeah, I don't know if that makes any
So the
sense.
why versus the how.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thanks, Kate. Okay, so we have a bunch of them. I think we will need to answer some of them in Slack after, but maybe we still have time for one or two more. So Martha is asking, can you share best practices on how to leverage the use of AI, but keeping it safe in terms of companies' sensitive information, which we already covered a little bit, but if you can talk a little bit more.
Yeah, especially as you think about life sciences companies and pharma and all that, you know, PII information, that's really sensitive, right? So how do you make the decision of what goes in, what you may run through some sort of generative or agentic AI tool? I typically see companies building that internally, but even still, there's always a slight concern, I think, from the executive team and even the board of like, how are we protecting that? And if we have to get audited, what does that look like? So I think that a couple of principles would be probably building it yourself, or at least leveraging some of the things and understanding what those sort of guardrails are and establishing those, and not necessarily trusting that if you're using ChatGPT and paying for the paid model that your data is safe. I've always sort of questioned that. So thinking about it that way and understanding if it really is worth putting some of the more sensitive data through AI to leverage it. Does it make sense there, or could it be better used elsewhere? But I'm curious from the group, what's a key principle for you in terms of sensitive data? I don't have all the answers.
Anyone want to jump in? I guess not. Okay, one more question before we wrap up, and I'm sorry that we didn't have time to cover all the questions.
Yeah,
Maybe
we got a lot
can,
here. This is good.
Yeah, we can make some kind of a round of questions later in Slack. So last question. Our product ops organization is trying to move from being reactive to PM development leadership needs to being more proactive, feeling a bit lost on how to prioritize and defend prioritization. What is a key framework you might use to help guide decisions for what product ops work on near term, long term, not at all? And what are some key criteria you would consider?
I think it's about being really intentional about what you're working on sort of above the line and then what's below the line that we will not get to. So I'm guessing you probably don't have a huge team. Most of us don't. And focusing in on basically, we've done discovery work. This is what the product team and leadership has told us are the gaps and opportunities, and we are going to leverage our resources here. Down here sounds like, here are all the things that we've also heard in a less order of importance. We are not going to be doing these things. And as time goes on, if these are seeming to be more important areas to cover, then you start talking about what that would look like and possibly, do we reallocate somebody? Is that a new head count? But, based on what we've heard, number of folks we have, and the opportunities at hand, this is sort of the box of capabilities we can offer today. So it's hard to say no when you're pushing back, but eventually folks do end up understanding, just kind of like, here's what we work on, here's what we are not doing right now. We will reassess every quarter and understand that. And I think the faster you're able to do that and get back to people rather, than, sort of gnashing your teeth and trying to figure out, could we do this? Does this make sense? If you keep trying to chase all those things, you're getting nothing done. So the more focused you are on that specific set of capabilities and delivering and sharing that back proactively versus reactively, you start demonstrating the value, you start sharing the quick wins, you start talking about the vision where we're going. And it takes time. I wish I could say, do this, and it becomes, non-reactive to proactive, but it takes time and the quick wins of sharing back what you were able to accomplish. But you also start to understand the trends, right, of the kinds of things you're going to get asked in the seasonality. So anticipating that. So if QBRs are coming up, get ahead of it. Don't wait for someone to say, well, what are we doing? What do we need? What are the templates? I haven't gotten anything. We've got 1 week. Put that in your calendar and figure out, like, how far ahead do we need to get at that? So if you start showing those types of things, that you're leading and driving towards outcomes versus reactive, oh yeah, we forgot about that, you will start building up, I think, more credibility and political capital, so to speak. So that would be one of my suggestions.
I love that. Thanks, Denise. So I think in the interest of time, I will share my screen with some resources and we will wrap for today here. Again, thank you so much to everyone, and a special thank you to you, Denise, for driving this amazing conversation. Let me share my resources here. Share screen. Okay, so Denise, can you talk about these resources?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, still looking for really amazing case studies, and doesn't matter if you haven't gotten amazing results, you're still in progress. Would love to hear about how you guys are leveraging AI, the case studies, to potentially include in the book. So if you grab this QR code, I have links to this survey. It's just a quick form. If you can fill it out, and then I'll get in touch with you. But it would be great to have so many voices from the community, new voices to include in the update of the book and the audiobook. Second thing is a product ops book. It was lovely. Somebody said this is our Bible. I was kind of like, oh, that's lovely. But it would be great if you guys would leave a review on Amazon. It sort of helps get more visibility and helps the community by making sure everybody's aware of it. And then feel free to get in touch. If you've got questions, ideas, thoughts, challenges, happy to talk it through. So all of that contact information is in this page here. Just grab the QR code, and thank you guys. Wonderful questions.
Thank you, Denise. Leah is also sharing these links with you in the chat, so feel free to see them there as well. And I think this was all amazing, and we have a great session today. So if these resources are not enough, you can also check the Product Ops Playbook by our sponsor, Dragonboat. Leah is also going to drop that link in the chat, and it's free, right, by the way. So and I think we are wrapping up, so apologies for not getting to all the questions. We will try to publish them in Slack so all the community can jump in and answer, right? Thanks again to everyone who joined us for this lovely discussion, and a special thanks to Denise. I hope to see you all in the next meetup, and I hope to see you all in Slack. So have a wonderful day, and till next time. Bye-bye.